From this lecture, we are going to start a new chapter that is breathing and exchange of gases. So let us start now this particular chapter. Okay, so when we talk about breathing and exchange of gases, in this particular chapter, we have to talk about the respiratory system of human. So we'll discuss the respiratory, what are the organs in case of human in detail. We have to see the other structures as well in other organism. Okay. Let us start with the definition of breathing. And let me tell you that these two term that is breathing and respiration, these are two different terms, right? Although breathing is one of the step in respiration, but we need to understand the difference between these two words. So when we speak about breathing, that what is the meaning of breathing? So breathing, it is a process of inhalation of air that is rich in oxygen and exhalation of air that is rich in carbon dioxide. So that is a inhalation and exhalation process, right everyone? So it is a inhalation of air rich in oxygen and exhalation of air rich in carbon dioxide, rich in CO2. Make sure if we say that inhalation of oxygen, no, that is not correct because we cannot select a particular gas, right? So we are just inhaling the air, although it is rich in oxygen, right? There is a particular reason that why other gases, do not go into the complete body. So of course we'll talk about the partial pressures and all, but later. So that is the definition, right? Breathing is also termed as ventilation. Let me just compare a word with you. I mean to say, suppose we are, let's say we are sitting in the room. Now, let's say all the windows and all the doors are closed now. If I open a door or a window, then air comes in, or the air from the room rushes out. So it is also rushing in and rushes out of the air again. So that is also called as ventilation. So breathing, we also call that it is ventilation. Okay, so it is ventilation. It's a singular basically. So it's ventilation. Okay, so breathing or ventilation. So basically, it is the inhalation of air which is rich in oxygen. How respiration is different from breathing? We need to understand that breathing is one of the steps in respiration. Basically, when we define respiration, so respiration, it is a, we can say, it is a breakdown of, respiration is defined as a breakdown of respiratory substrate or fuel. Respiratory substrate or fuel. Wait. So it is defined as the respiratory breakdown of respiratory substrate or respiratory fuel, right, to obtain energy. To obtain energy. Basically, it is a heat that is produced, and this heat is transformed into the energy, right? This energy then is stored in the form of ATP. Okay, so that is the concept of respiration. Respiration basically meaning of breakdown of respiratory substrate. We will study the complete respiration in detail in the chapter of respiration in plant. It is one of the botany chapter. We'll discuss the complete details of the respiration over there. We'll talk about today also a little bit about the respiration. But as I told you that breathing is one of the steps in respiration. So let us try and understand that what are the different steps in respiration. Okay, so let's try and understand that what are the different steps in respiration. So anyways, the first step is inhalation of air. So this is basically respiration. The first step is ventilation, or what we so called as it is breathing. Now this breathing involves both the things. That means it involves inhalation, it also involves exhalation. So it involves inhalation as well as exhalation. Let me see if the complete screen is covering. So yes, it is. Okay, so inhalation, it involves both the things. Ventilation, breathing involves both the thing, inhalation and exhalation. That's the first step. What happens to that air that we inhale? So what is the further process? Let us talk about it. The air that we inhale, of course, the air that is rich in oxygen, we know that it reaches to alveoli. Of course, we'll talk the structures in detail later, right, in the future videos. But for now, we need to understand, we need to have an idea that the air that we are inhaling, that goes to our alveoli. In alveoli, of course, alveoli are highly vascular. We'll discuss that why the alveoli are highly vascular. There's a reason. So what exactly happened? We know that the air that we have inhaled, that is rich in oxygen, so O2 is more. So O2 is more. Let me write it. In inhalation air, in inhaled air, the O2 is more. It is rich in O2, and of course it is less in CO2. It has CO2. I'm not saying that it do not have CO2 in the inhaled air, but it has in a less quantity. So what exactly happened? Let me just give in representation. Let me try to make an alveoli. Let's say it is an alveoli, right? Let's try and understand. So we know that it is a squamous epithelium. It is lined by a thin squamous epithelial layer, and around it we have blood vessels. So we are having the blood vessels. Let's me try and explain the blood vessel as well. Let's say it is a blood vessel. The air that is O2 rich. So this air that is O2 rich, it enters, of course, in the blood. We'll let you know the complete detail, and from the blood CO2 goes out. So that happens. So first of all, at first level, exchange takes place. So the second is exchange of gas. Exchange of gases at alveoli. This is one of the first thing we need to know, that exchange of gases at alveoli is taking place. So when this exchange occur, means O2 from alveoli rushes into the blood vessel. Will let you know that what these blood vessels are, and CO2 rushes out into the alveoli. This is called as external respiration. So this term we specifically call it as external respiration. So what do we mean by external respiration? I'm saying exchange of gases when it takes place at alveoli level. That is called external respiration. What happens after that? This O2 comes in and this CO2 goes out. Okay, so this diagram was hidden, on my image. So now you can see I was saying from the alveoli O2 enters, and from the blood vessels CO2 goes out. So you can have now a clear-cut idea about it, what I was saying. Okay, let's now go back to the same position. Okay, everyone. So that is what I was saying. Now that is called external respiration. Or let me put myself for some more time here only. So this is external respiration. Now, once the gases reaches to the blood, these gases need to be transported to their destiny. So the third step, it is called transportation of gases. So in the third step, these gases would be transported. So there is a transportation of gases that occur. So it involves transportation of gases. Now when we talk about the transportation of gases, RBC play a very important role here. So in the transportation of gases, these gases are transported from the alveoli to the complete body part. So this is the third step, that is transportation of gases. Now when these gases reaches to their destiny, what is their destiny? Let's say tissue. So now another time exchange now occur. So let's say this gases reach to a particular tissue. Let's say, let me draw a tissue here, and we have a blood vessel here, right? So this gas, let's say, reaches to a particular tissue. Now exchange need to occur at the tissue level. So that is exchange again. So now another exchange occur, exchange of gases. This exchange of gases occur at tissue level. So what exactly happened? The oxygen that is higher in blood, now that reaches to the tissue. The tissue uses oxygen for what? I'll let you know. And in the tissue, then there is a production of CO2 that occur. I'll let you know how CO2 is produced, just of course in this video only. Now, when exchange occur at tissue level, so what exactly happen at tissue? Oxygen rushes in the tissue and CO2 comes out. Now, again the same blood will carry the carbon dioxide, right? That has now become a deoxygenated blood. I'm sure you have an idea, right? If you do not have an idea, we'll talk in future videos. Don't worry. What is oxygenated? And oxygenated means the blood which is having high oxygen content or concentration. Deoxygenated means having low oxygen and high carbon dioxide. That is. So now this exchange occurs at tissue level. This is specifically called as internal respiration. This respiration that takes place at tissue level. So you need to have an idea that what is external and internal respiration, right? Okay. What tissue will do of that oxygen? Why do we require O2? I'll answer this question just in some time, But for now, we need to understand that this oxygen that rushes into the tissue, that is utilized for cellular respiration. That is utilized for cellular respiration. Now, what is respiration? As I discussed that in respiration, what it involves. So, cellular respiration involves. Okay, let me change the color. Cellular respiration involves breakdown of respiratory fuel. Let's say glucose. It can be a fatty acid as well. It can be protein, but it should not be. We are not supposed to allow ourselves to break the protein, and that can be happen in a situation of severe starvation. But I mean to say, that it is a first, that is a carbohydrate that is consumed, then it is a fat. Of course, fat also gives us energy, even more energy than that of the carbohydrate. And when the fat is also utilized, there is a and when that fat is also utilized, then what we so called as protein breakdown occur. But that is not good. But of course, it can be. So anyway, this respiration means breakdown of respiratory fuel, right, to provide energy. So definitely, when this glucose and let's say fatty acid breakdown occur, there is a multiple step in which it happens. So ultimately, we also get some other product, but the main is energy, and that is why we require cellular respiration. So now, after having an understanding of that, what are the steps that involve in respiration, let us try and understand what are the different type of respiration we have. Again, so we are having the main two types of respiration that we talk about. One is aerobic, and the another type of respiration that we'll talk about, that is anaerobic respiration. Let's start to discuss them with differences. Okay, basically in aerobic respiration, oxygen is present, so there is a supply of oxygen. The question is that why do we require oxygen? Of course, that is the question. So we required oxygen for aerobic organism for cellular respiration. Let me give a basic idea. Oxygen required for oxidation of the food or oxidation for any substance. Or in simple word, I should say that oxygen is required for burning reaction. We know that in normal, daily activities for burning we require oxygen. Similarly, in the body, the burning, the respiratory fuel undergoes burning, and I mean to say definitely, and that's how the heat is produced. In our body also heat is produced, but it is not like that we combust from inside. That heat is then transformed into ATP, into the chemical energy form. But also the burning takes place in our body also. That is why oxygen is required. So this oxygen is ultimately required for the breakdown of respiratory fuel. Again, when we'll see the detailed structure of mitochondria, so at that time we'll realize that what is the actual use of oxygen. Basically, it acts as a electron transporter. Anyway, so there is a supply of oxygen that is required. In anaerobic respiration, we do not require oxygen, so oxygen is not required. Usually, anaerobic respiration is also known as fermentation. So we can also call it as fermentation. Now let me place myself above so that because I will not use this space now, now that it is called fermentation. So O2 is not required. Okay. In aerobic respiration, there is a complete breakdown of respiratory fuel occurs. So there is a complete breakdown. There is a complete breakdown of respiratory substance occur, of respiratory substrate occur, substrate. And when there is a complete breakdown of some organic compounds, then CO2 is produced. So what is the reaction? I'll let you know. And here, complete breakdown would not occur. So basically, we can say that incomplete combustion is there. Incomplete breakdown or oxidation. As I said, that oxygen is required for oxidation, so incomplete oxygen. The end product that is formed in aerobic respiration, that is CO2 along with water. So the end product is basically carbon dioxide, and it is water, of course, anyways. Here the end product, it may varies. End product, basically it may be lactic acid. We can also classify respiration on the base on further division, like anaerobic can be like lactic acid fermentation or ethanol fermentation, or if production of ethanol is there, so ethanol may be produced. Let's say lactic acid produced in our case as well. Ethanol is produced by bacteria and many yeast. So mainly yeast are the one that help in the production of ethanol. So that is the another comparison on the basis of energy end product. Let us compare these two on the basis of their energy, the total amount of energy. So if I talk about the total amount of energy in aerobic respiration, that is 38 ATP. But these 38 ATP are not for our use. Two ATP already being used in one of the process. I'll let you know what are the different steps in aerobic respiration. Two molecule of oxygen are already used over there. So the net ATP that what we get for use, it is 36. And in anaerobic respiration, the total net ATP gain, it is 2 only, and it is available for use. I mean to say, it is not like that some again if 2 is getting and then T2 is utilized in any other reaction. No, it won't happen. So only 2 ATP is produced and these are available for respiration. Okay, this is important. Okay, now let us try and understand that what are the different steps that are required in aerobic respiration. So let us talk about these steps that are required in respiration, and after that we'll talk about organs for respiration. But let's now talk about that what are the steps in aerobic respiration. So first of all, glycolysis occur. Again, the detail we'll talk in of the glycolysis, that how the glucose transform into two molecule of pyruvic acid. Again, uh, we'll talk the details in the chapter of respiration. So basically, glycolysis, as the name suggests, glyco means glucose, or lysis means breakdown. So basically, it lead to the what we so call as breakdown of glucose into two molecule of pyruvic acid. So this is something that we need to understand. So it involves the breakdown of glucose into two molecule of pyruvic acid. So a pyruvic acid is a 3-carbon compound and glucose is a 6-carbon compound. Okay, now then this pyruvic acid convert another reaction that is called actually link reaction. So there is a link reaction. In this link reaction, of course, it is taking place in aerobic respiration only. This pyruvic acid is transformed into acetyl coenzyme A. Acetyl coenzyme A. Acetyl coenzyme is a 2-carbon compound and it is a decarboxylation reaction. What is the meaning of decarboxylation? Let's say it is a 3-carbon compound. Pyruvic acid is a 3-carbon compound. Of course, 2 pyruvic acid transform into 2 acetyl coenzyme. So pyruvic acid is a 3-carbon compound and acetyl coenzyme A is a 2-carbon. And this what we talk about? Yeah, this acetyl coenzyme A is a 2-carbon compound. So it is a decarboxylation reaction. Means a CO2 is given out here. So it is a decarboxylation reaction. Now this acetyl coenzyme A, it is accepted by oxaloacetic acid in the mitochondria, and now another reaction that occurs. So I'm writing here itself. Let me write it from the next color. Let me choose a color. Let me write it here. This acetyl coenzyme A, which is a 2-carbon compound, it is now accepted by oxaloacetic acid in the mitochondria, and another reaction occur, that is a cyclic reaction, basically, that what we call as Tca cycle, tricarboxylic acid cycle. It is also called as citric acid cycle. It is also called as Krebs cycle, named after the scientist. Okay, so that takes place in the mitochondria. Now, another step after TCA, means tricarboxylic acid cycle, is electron transport chain. TCA occur in matrix of the mitochondria, and the another step, that is electron transport chain, that is another after that. So glycolysis is the first, link reaction is the second, TCA is the third, and the fourth, that is called ETS or ETC. That is actually called electron transport chain or electron transport system. That is another fourth step that do occur in mitochondria, but in the membrane of the mitochondria. After that, another step is there, that is called oxidative phosphorylation. So oxidative phosphorylation. that do occur now. What is oxidative phosphorylation? So in oxidative phosphorylation, there is actually formation of ATP. And now let me explain once more. So the steps in aerobic respiration, once in glycolysis. Glycolysis is actually common to both aerobic as well as anaerobic respiration. In glycolysis occur in cytoplasm of a cell, and it is common to both aerobic as well as anaerobic process. The glycolysis helps to convert the glucose into pyruvic acid. This pyruvic acid that is formed now transform into acetyl coenzyme A. This acetyl coenzyme A is accepted by oxaloacetic acid, and that is within the mitochondria. Now another cycle means one more cycle takes place in the mitochondria, that is Tca, one cycle basically. After Tca, now in the glycolysis and in link reaction and in Tca, there is a production of NADPH2 or rather NADPH, not NADPH2, sorry. So there is a production of NADPH and there is a production of FADH basically. These NADPH and FADH2 they worth ATP. NADPH basically contain 2.5 but we take it as 3 ATP for now, and FADH contain 1.5 but we take 2 ATP for now. So NADPH and FADH they worth ATPs. So these are synthesized in the glycolysis, in link reaction and in electron in Tca. Now from these NADPH and FADH we need electrons basically. So for that we have to go for another step that is called electron transport chain or electron transport system. In that we have a series of some proteins, so we'll talk about it of course in the chapter of respiration. After that, finally, the ATP synthesis takes place in the step of oxidative phosphorylation. So oxidative phosphorylation means formation of phosphate bond, phosphorylation. So these are the some steps that takes place in aerobic respiration. Now let's talk about the anaerobic respiration. So in anaerobic respiration, only glycolysis occurs. So only glycolysis occurs. So there is a formation of what we so called as pyruvic acid. Now this pyruvic acid, of course, transform into, let's say, may transform into lactic acid. Lactic acid is also a 3 carbon compound, so there is no production of CO2, right? Or it may be transformed into ethanol. Ethanol is a 2 carbon compound, so in that reaction there is a CO2 is released. So I'm sure you have seen a reaction where ethanol is produced and CO2 is also written along with that. But in lactic acid it does not happen. Where anaerobic respiration occurs, so anaerobic respiration takes place in us as well. Where in our muscle cell, in a very severe, let's say we are doing a severe exercise, so our muscle become deficient in oxygen. In that time our muscle can show respiration in absence of oxygen, and that's how we can transform pyruvic acid into lactic acid, and that is responsible for muscle cramp, and that what we call as muscle fatigue. We had discussed the fate of this lactic acid in the chapter of digestion in the Cori's cycle. If you not in the Cori cycle, we'll discuss Cori cycle. We will discuss in the chapter of locomotion movement when we talk about exactly how the muscle fatigue takes place. So at that time, I'll let you know. I'll teach you what is the meaning of Cori cycle. So over there, I'll teaches you the fate of this lactic acid. This lactic acid also transform into glycogen and glucose, of course. Another area in us, of course, where this anaerobic respiration occurs. So that is in RBCs. So another site where this anaerobic respiration occur in our body, that is basically, what is it? So it is RBC. So it takes place in RBC. In RBC do not have mitochondria. I'm sure you are aware. In mature mammalian erythrocyte I'm talking about, and they help in the transportation of oxygen. So if they do have mitochondria, let's suppose, then they can utilize that oxygen, by themselves. So they do not have mitochondria. That is why they do anaerobic respiration. Apart from this, anaerobic respiration is shown by yeast, and then there are certain bacteria. Okay, another place in us where anaerobic respiration operates. So in the cecum, in the last part of large intestine, we harbors bacteria. So if incomplete digested food, or if anyhow the organic food or the food reaches to the let's say, of course, if digestion is not proper, then some of the food may reaches to the cecum as well. Now that is digested by bacteria. anaerobically, and that is what is responsible for flatulence, basically, production of various gases in the flatulence. So that is basically is a discussion for the day. It's almost videos of 25 minutes, right? So basically half an hour around. So let's conclude or let's wrap up for the day. That's the introduction of the breathing and respiration. I hope you must get something new. Okay, so this is all we have discussed in this particular video. I hope you liked it, and if you do liked it, then do subscribe to the channel and do like it, and check the playlist for other chapters as well. Let's see you in the another video with a topic of what are the different organs in different organisms that are responsible for respiration, and also we will understand that what should be the characteristic surface of an what should be the characteristic feature of an respiratory surface. Why humans are not showing, let's say, cutaneous respiration means respiration through skin. We do have a skin, but we don't show the respiration through skin. Why do have a specialized organ that is called lungs? So let us see these all things in future videos. Till the time, everyone, thank you very much.